Hello everyone, my name is Elias Kayat,
My name's Alejandro Perez Albella.
and we're both medical students at Georgetown University. In this video, we'll be talking about the flu vaccines. We'll cover things such as their importance, some misconceptions about them, and some ways that are relevant to the community, such as where to get access to such vaccines. With that being said, I'll hand it over to my partner Alejandro.
Thank you, Elias. So first things first, the main question is, why should you get the flu shot? There are three main points I want to make with this. And one, the most important and the one that most directly affects an individual is that it vastly increases likelihood of keeping you healthy. The flu shot on any given season can decrease the likelihood of you getting infected anywhere from 50 to 70%. And if you do encounter the flu any strain, this is greatly going to help you keep healthy. One other thing is that if this barrier does get surpassed and you do get infected, having the flu shot in your system is going to greatly reduce the symptoms and the number of complications that you have through a given strain. Lastly, a concept that I want to talk about is herd immunity, that even if another person is not vaccinated, you are protecting that given individual or your community or your surrounding family by having the shot in your system. So the virus is not going to have a source to grow and continue to propagate through the community. Elias?
All right, so in this next section, I'll be talking about some myths and misconceptions about the flu vaccine. One of the first things people think is that the flu shot in itself is ineffective. Well, it's technically not 100% effective, but it is shown to have higher than 50% efficacy. The reason is because each year scientists try to gather the most common flu strains, and based on that, they develop the vaccine. So technically, although they can't guarantee every strain, they do guarantee a high percentage, which is good prevention, better than 0%. Another misconception is the fact that people think that if you get the flu shot, you might actually get the flu from it. And the reason this is incorrect is because the flu is a virus, and the way that the vaccine works is that it inactivates it, so it renders it basically ineffective, and your immune system, your body, through the way it works basically is that it takes that dead vaccine, that dead virus, pardon me, and what it does with it is that it makes an immune response. One thing that might happen is that the vaccine doesn't work immediately. It takes up to 2 weeks for it to become fully effective, and so there is a slight chance of getting the flu between that time. Well, another thing that people mention is that if they got the flu strain last year, why do they need to renew it yearly? And the reason for that is every year the strains differ and scientists update the viruses that are needed to be vaccinated. Finally, to the people who say that the flu is just a bad cold, the thing is that the CDC reported last year that 16 million hospital visits and 24,000 deaths were due to the flu vaccine. And very last point that is brief, some people think that antibiotics might help with the flu, but the fact is the flu is a virus and antibiotics only works against bacteria. So because those two things are very different, antibiotics won't work for the flu.
Moving on to the next point, who should get the vaccine? Any person over the age of 6 months should get the vaccine, and this includes pregnant women. The only exception to not getting the vaccine is if you getting a shot is if you have some sort of allergic response to the shot. This might include some people who have allergies to egg, but if you do have adverse side effects, you should speak to your physician and tell them about the symptoms you're experiencing and see if you should continue taking the shot every year or not.
In this next section, I'll be talking about places and locations in DC to get the flu shot. So attached under the video in the description, we have two websites. The first is the CDC basically website for the DC area, and it has all the information you need about the flu shot, and we've directly linked the flu webpage to it. Another link we've included is a PDF file with the map of DC and all its wards, and basically a location for every place that accepts Medicaid. One thing to point out is that scheduling ahead of time might be needed, especially in a crisis of COVID. It's better to take precautions and give the staff enough time to schedule and separate out the visits between patients. And wearing a mask is definitively recommended when going to do the visit.
So moving on to the flu season timeline and when you should ideally get the shot. The flu season runs all the way through late fall to early spring, with the peak season being anywhere from January to March. And you should ideally get the flu shot latest by early November. I know that many people may not have the time to get the flu shot by early November, but you still, if you get it any time throughout the season, this is going to provide protection for yourself.
All right, the last point I'll talk about is basically the importance of the flu vaccine in this COVID era. With all that's happening, especially nowadays with the curve of COVID cases rising nowadays, it's important to get the flu vaccination. And the reason for that, if God forbid you contract the flu virus, it wouldn't be ideal to go to the hospital. And that's for several reasons. One thing is that hospitals are being overwhelmed with the number of patients that are admitted with COVID-19. And what that means in a way is that if you contract the flu, which is an airborne disease that is highly infectious, similar as COVID-19, the chance of you going to the hospital, you might contract COVID-19. And at the same time, you might give the flu virus to people at the hospital. So with a vaccine available for the flu, unlike COVID, it's definitely better to get the flu shot, get immunization, and prevent any unnecessary visits to the hospital. And with that being said, we've covered all the points in regard to the flu vaccine. I hope you found this video helpful, and hopefully it encourages you to get out there and get that vaccine as soon as possible. Thank you.